welcome to another edition of live interviews on Tejano Keyboard. Doesn't my studio look awesome today? So, before I get started with why it looks like this, first let me explain the shirt today like I usually do. This shirt was given to me by my lovely wife probably about 3 years ago. And that's when she found out after us trying for a very long time to get pregnant that we were in fact, she was with child. And so later on, after we found out, she got me this shirt. This is promoted to daddy. So it's something that I love to wear. Mijo is now 2.5 years old. Well, 2 in a few months, right? But nonetheless, so today, promoted to daddy. The reason for this interview being like this and not where it usually is because, first of all, I want to send a very sarcastic shout out to Republic Services, which is the rubbish removal people of Toledo, for ripping my freaking internet line from my house when they were driving by. The truck ripped the internet cable, and so no internet at Casa de Revilla. And then I would also like to send a shout out to Buckeye Cable, because when I called them and I said, hey, something happened, they said, yeah, we can get to it tomorrow at 10 a.m. So that doesn't help me for today. So we took the show on the road. So I am not broadcasting from Toledo, Ohio. I'm broadcasting all the way from Oregon, Ohio. First of all, my name right here, Rolando Revilla Jr., TejanoKeyboard.com. And today we have none other than Mr. Michael Ybarra. Michael, how you doing?
What up? What's happening?
Well, we're here
in the great city of Oregon, Ohio.
Yeah, great city of Oregon, Ohio, right here. Michael is the musical director and everything, etc., for Yvonne y Fuego. We are out here, kind of trying to social distance here.
Well, we got the pole right here, so we're actually,
The pole is acting as a buffer for us. By the way, if there's any technical issues, we apologize, but I think we did a pretty good job to cross our T's and dot our I's, or maybe we dotted our T's and crossed our I's and messed everything up. But either way,
ni modo, here we
ni
are.
modo, and be sure if there's something, if you can't hear one of us, just let us know, and I'll send you a very rude message back. Say, mind your own business. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'd appreciate any of the feedback. If you guys, if we sound a little funky or whatever, we'll try to do our best, right? Before we get started, want to send a shout out to everybody who's joining us right now, especially Nano Fuentes.
What up, Nano?
Nano says, should play Party Bus to get the party started.
Nice.
That doesn't sound like a bad idea. And then also to our brother in music, Mr. Joe Ortiz.
Joe!
From the very, very far city of Monroe, Michigan.
Where I can throw a rock and it can hit him in his backyard.
Yeah, not too far from here. We should have just did the interview at his place.
He's got a pool, too.
Nano said, does he?
Yeah, he's got a pool. If I remember correctly, he's got a pool.
We're gonna pack this all up.
We'll see you in an hour.
We'll see you in an hour. I'm just kidding. Let's see here. Also, Nano Fuentes says, party at Michael's. I don't think he's talking about the arts and crafts store. I think he's talking about where we're at right now.
We do have Club Ybarra in full effect, though, just FYI. So,
Nano Fuentes wants to know if it says, do you got a buzz going, though? So I don't know if he's talking to me or if he's talking to you.
I'm straight out of work, man. I don't drink on a weekday.
He's got to be right there.
Cheers.
No, I am not. I am just kind of trying to make this all happen so quickly. Let me tell you guys, this usually takes like a day to prepare. I'm a stay-at-home dad, so when Mijo lets me work, I get stuff done. And today was not one of those days, especially since the internet went out, so I couldn't really do anything. So this is all kind of on the fly, and I'm still kind of trying to. Yeah, Joe says party at his house. All right, well, we're going to hold you to that. Once all this coronavirus goes away, then maybe we'll go out there and he can play some sweet guitar songs for us. For those of you who don't know, Joe Ortiz, awesome guitar player. As a matter of fact, his brother, John, is going to be doing an interview.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's going to be doing an interview next month or the following month in
The whole
August.
family's
hopefully.
amazing musicals, man.
Yeah, great
Yeah.
musicians.
All of them. All of them.
So, Michael, you've been playing for quite a while now, right? So tell me when you first started playing music. How long ago?
I was
1970. No, I'm just kidding.
25 BC. No, just kidding. I was 10, dude, when I started playing saxophone,
Saxophone.
sax,
huh?
and the school band, and that's where I started picking up the horn, and I played that through high school. So that was my first instrument. So, learned how to read, played in all the school bands and the jazz bands and all that other good stuff, and that was my first direction, and I was supposed to be in the horn my whole time, and here I am.
Yeah, and so obviously when you outside of school, how'd you get it? Well, I kind of know some of this.
Yeah.
But I'll ask you for sake of the audience, but what got you into the Tejano music scene? And when you got in, I'm assuming it was saxophone, right?
It was sax.
Okay.
It was sax, and of course by the my dad Joey Ybarra, and Sangre Nova band back in the day, and he always had the brass, the keyboards, accordion. Back then, though, it was just more the brass, and it was the three horns and bass guitar, drums, family band. And I got started. He put me in, and that's kind of where we started off at, man. And then 13, he already had me playing here in Ohio and Michigan, and it was cool, man. It was a good experience, I mean, playing jams like Josefa, all the Josefa jams and all that stuff, and Paul Garza and the Show Band USA stuff. That was
Absolutely.
all cool stuff.
Yep. And so you were part of a horn section then, right? You
Mhm.
were doing sax. Were you playing alto, tenor? or
Both. I was doing both alto and tenor, and if I was either playing alto, it was Dave Mora on sax, and then Paul Sanchez on trumpet.
Oh yeah, the Sanchez. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's who my dad had in the band and the horns. My uncle Junior Hernandez was playing bass. Mike Soto, God rest in peace. But he was on guitar. Joe Vela
Yep.
on drums. Tony Ramirez on accordion. So it was a good little band, man.
Yeah, it was a good. Those are some great musicians.
You
All
know.
these people that we're mentioning, by the way, legendary here within the Midwest. If you guys get a chance to kind of look them up, do so. I mean, some of them are still active, some of them have passed, but nonetheless, they are. Just if you're interested in any of the Midwest Tejano.
A lot of history,
scene,
man.
Yeah, a lot of history.
A lot of history from all these musicals here in Ohio and Michigan and just the Midwest alone. There's some amazing talent, man. Just old school guys. I don't even say old school. That's disrespectful, but just so much knowledge. Just so much knowledge.
Well, I think and this is just me personally, but I think the phrase "old school" is kind of like a phrase of what's the word I'm looking for? Like endearment. Is that the right word to use?
And endearment? Yeah, I would think
you
so.
know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but
'Cause,
it's
because-
they set the path, man.
Yeah, I mean, and old school doesn't necessarily have to be old. I mean, there's a lot to take from that older school, right? Like, just anything
Right.
from respect to like musicianship, loyalty, stuff like that. I mean, a lot of musicians these days, you know what I mean? The bands, they just don't have the same. What's the word I'm looking for? The same like respect for it, you know what I mean? Like they don't have the same motivation that that some of the older cats did, and well, I don't know, maybe that's just my opinion, right?
Right.
So no, I don't think it's bad to call them old school. You know what I mean? Old school is kind of a cool term. You know what I mean?
They definitely set the pace, for me anyways, and for a lot of us, I would admit,
Yeah.
But but some great musicians, and back to the story. But my dad, he's the one that kind of set the path for everything and kind of gave me the opportunity. And actually, I really didn't even have a choice in the matter. To be honest with you, just said you're gonna do this, and then said okay. But it worked out good, man. It was an experience, and then we ended up adding keyboards to the band, and history speaks for itself. But that band though with the horns only lasted maybe 3 years, and then the band went bye-bye. My dad decided he wanted to take a break.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so here I am just now getting into it, and I'm 14, 15 years old, enjoying it, and I'm saying, well, what now? What now? I want to play. I got a taste of it.
And for those of you who are unfamiliar with Sangre Nueva, back in the day, they were the powerhouse band out of Michigan. I mean, from the sound system to
Oh God.
the theatrics of it. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people, when you think of Moss back in the day, you know what I mean? The big setups, the big lights and stuff like that. I think your pops was one of the guys who was just like, hey, you know what? If anybody wants to take us seriously, we have to actually, keep up with the Joneses, so
Yeah.
to speak. And the Joneses not necessarily being the musicians, nearby. It was keeping up with Moss, keeping up with La Mafia,
And my dad was all about the presentation too. I mean, presentation means a lot. I mean, of course, you got to sound good. You got to
Right.
put your homework in. You got to practice. But my dad was one thing was so huge on presentation, man, and that was that was his thing. And he wanted to be polished. And the thing is too, when these back then in that 80s and 90s, when these bands were coming up, when Sombra Mafia and Mas and Little Joe and all these big bands were coming up, he wanted to compete with them.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to compete with them. He wanted to have a system next to theirs, or they're playing on our stuff, and it was cool. It was a lot of a lot of great shows, a lot of great memories.
So apparently, I need to be turned up a little bit.
Oh.
Hopefully that's a little better. I'll get it up close into the mic like Barry White. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, we have some questions here from. Let's see, we have from Joe Cruz. It says, "Who's your favorite jazz player on sax and boards?"
Oh, jeez,
Oop.
that's a tough one, dude. Because if I had to say jazz, and I'm gonna shoot me for this. I'm not a huge jazz listener, and you know that. I'm more Donald. But if I had to say anything, maybe Latin jazz, Chicoria. He's really cool stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That stuff would be really cool. As far as horn is concerned, man, I don't know. I've been off the horn since my early 20s. I haven't picked it up since then,
Yeah.
But there's so many inspirational. And like I said, my background has been Tejano, so
And maybe I can chime in a little bit, and maybe you can agree with me. But there's a lot of really good Tejano cats that kind of venture out into the jazz stuff. So there's like Joe Posada,
For sure.
Val Maltos.
Yeah.
I mean, some of those horn players, I mean, they're interchangeable. And I think that one of the things, and not to push my opinion too much right here, but I think that one thing about Tejano musicians that sets us apart from other genres is that, going back to the movie Selena, right? It's all about you got to be more Mexican than the Mexicans and more American than the Americans,
Right.
Right. So that being said, it's like when you play Mexican music, it has to be authentic, right?
Yeah.
And the same thing, if you're gonna play jazz, you're gonna play American music, it's got to be right on the money too. Because if not, people will criticize.
Oh,
you
yeah.
and be like, hey, these guys are just trying. Nice effort, but
Yeah.
but no dice, And so to that, at least from my point of view, horn players, Val and even guys like Chris Calderon.
Oh yeah.
Fabian's a monster saxophonist too.
There's so many to name, man. They're awesome players out there.
And honestly, and I'm not just saying this because this is a Tejano show, but some of these guys that we've mentioned, especially like Fabian, who's toured the world, and Joe Posada, and some of these guys, I would put them up against any, like they can hold their own in the jazz arena. And so not to answer Michael's question for him, but I think that
you're dead on.
I think that would be a good assessment of, or at least a decent answer to that
But
question.
another one I've been following too, and it's because of you, is that Jesus Molina.
Oh, Jesus Molina.
Oh
Yeah.
my God! I follow him in every channel. Everything that he does is just like, how and why?
yeah, and he's another guy who's just a monster player, man. He's really good. Jesus Molina, and he plays everything, man. Have you seen those videos where he like does the sax and the drums and the keyboards and everything?
Just everything blows my mind away what he does.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. We got a shout out right here from the random blind guy. It says, "What's up?" or "Hey, what's up? What's up?"
What's up? What's happening?
Also, Dave Rodriguez Jr. Hey, Puro Party, Oregon, Ohio.
What up?
Let's see.
We'll be going to Lansing and celebrating. They're expecting, so soon to be, right?
Yep.
Him and and his wife. So
Yeah,
that'd be
shout
cool.
out to Jessica
Yep.
and David from Lansing, Michigan.
Primo David. Primo David.
Primo David. Yeah. And my part-time band brother, whenever I'm helping out bands and we happen to cross paths, whether it
Well,
be.
or him helping us out.
Yeah, exactly. So it's nice jamming with you, brother. Let's see. It says, "Good evening, fellas. Just checking in. That's John Ortiz. And we were just talking about him, John Ortiz. Hopefully,
What's up, John?
in August, will be doing an interview with us.
Yep.
I also want to send a shout out to the jackass on the motorcycle who just went by really loud. No, I'm just kidding. Let's see. Here.
Why? Didn't they get the memo?
It says shout out to his granddaughter Zio from Michael Ibarra.
Nice. What's up, Mija? Love you.
That's from Mikey.
Mikey's.
Mikey's
He
Ibarra.
said the best backup vocalist ever that sang with Fuego.
Yeah.
You have to explain that story though real quick.
Yeah, okay. So we were doing a recording. For those of you who don't know, I've done some work in the past for Fuego, and there was a song that needed some background vocals, and I knew that Mikey kind of sang a little bit, and so we gave him some liquid courage and said, "Hey man, just lay down these vocals," and he did 4-part harmony. It came out really good. And
he did it.
Yeah, he did it. So shout out to Mikey, shout out to Maricela, shout out to Zoe,
Mikey's Ibarra.
Mikey's Ibarra. Let's see, John Ortiz. Oh yes, he plays everything. Oh yeah, I think that's in reference to Jesus Molina.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus Molina's a bad cat. Yep.
He's awesome.
Mikey says goat, greatest of all time.
Nice.
So how did you transition from horn player to keyboards, right? Because your dad had multiple keyboard players at one time, right?
So let me back up a little bit. So back when my dad decided to take that little bit of a break, I kind of got in contact, or actually Albert Amador got in contact with me, and he was playing with a band called Sonido back in the band, and that was Ove Rivera on keyboards, and then Ramon Rodriguez on guitar, Jess Lopez here from Toledo on bass, Albert was on drums, and Larry Amaya from here from Toledo on singing.
Oh, sweet.
So I started, and then there was Jesse Awitua from Detroit that would play the accordion. So I started playing sax with them, but at that point I was already kind of dabbling at the one-note Mas songs and this and that on the keyboard, and I just was picking up in my basement. And then Ova's the one that kind of gave me the little push on. Well, yeah, you got it. Let's do a little bit more. So he's the one that started showing me a little bit more, and so we were there with that. And then my dad finally came in, so Larry and my dad were singing, and it was cool. And that lasted about a year or so. And then I went to play with Cariño Musical after that.
Oh, I didn't realize that you played with Cariño
Yeah.
Musical.
Yeah,
Patricia, right?
Yeah. So it was
Patricia Peña.
Patricia, and then it was Juan Salazar, Ruben Salazar, Beto Salazar. Was kind of in and out, but me and Rudy were playing horns at that time, but I was still playing a little keys. And Alex Ambrositis
Oh yeah.
was on keys. So that was that band. That was there for a little bit, for about a year. Then my dad says, "Okay, I'm hungry. I'm back at it. Let's do this." So fast forward again. My dad says, "Let's get the band together. Let's get it going." And then the birth of Sangre Nueva that actually started recording was Joe Vela, Mike Soto, myself, Lee Lopez on keyboards. We had a guy named Mel. We called him Mel Dog, but Mel from Lansing on bass, Wolio.
Oh yeah.
And then myself and my dad, man, and that was the first Sangre Nueva.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, 2.0.
2.0. Yeah.
2.0. The first Sangre Nueva
Yeah.
2.0.
Well, Sangre Nueva's been around since '69.
Yeah.
'69 is when my dad started the band. So.
And that was before the break, right?
Oh yeah. Oh,
Okay.
6. Yeah, way before. Yeah, way before my time. So he's had it around for quite a while.
Right on.
Yeah.
And then, so slowly, Sangre Nueva picks back up. You transition from horn to full-time keyboards or secondary keyboards?
Secondary keyboards, because Lee Lopez was the main guy, and I was just doing like these Mi Castigo songs from Mas and stuff like that. All
You were
those
playing the leads, and he was doing more like the harmony and stuff.
chords
like
and all that
chords,
stuff. Yeah. So
Right on.
it was really cool. And then, but I never knew chords. I never knew anything. I was just play this part, play this little string part, play this part, and that's you. And then still playing the horn a little bit here and there. And that stayed like that for a little bit. Started recording, but But everything I did in the very first album with my dad was all on the horn. And then next thing we know, here comes album 2, and Lee ended up leaving the band, Lee Lopez, and we got David Arriaga in the band.
And David Arriaga, for those of you who are unfamiliar, also a legendary keyboardist from the area here. And he was the one that you said that was playing with Albert Amador too at the time with Sonido, or was that?
No, that was Ove Rivera.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So David, we were actually after we recorded the very first album in San Antonio. My dad said, "We're gonna do this. We're gonna do it big." And we went down to Joy Records in South Studios, and he says, "We're gonna record with Gilbert Velasquez." I don't know who Gilbert is. Here I am, 14, 15 years old, cocky. I don't care. Let's just go, and 16 maybe at the time. So we went down there and we were recording with Gilbert and played down there, and then that's when we met David. After when we were recording, actually when we were getting ready to record the second album, we met David. David's from San Antonio, and Lee ended up leaving, and David came in and filled in and did the whole. We were down there for a month.
Wow.
We were down there for a month. I remember we were down there for the month that whole time. Recorded the album, recorded the whole album, recording with Gilbert, playing. And next thing I know, David's coming back to Michigan with us. My dad made him an offer. He said, "I'll come back. I'll relocate." So here he was, and David was a freaking phenomenal asset to the band, man. He gave a Sangre Nueva a new sound, man. And then we end up, just fast forward. He was with us for probably good 4 or 5 years, maybe, give or take. He decided he was gonna leave and do something else, and then my dad said, "You're on board. No more leads, no more playing one note stuff. You're on board. By the way, we got our first gig in 2 weeks because David's gone."
Yeah.
And I started practicing. And back to the roots, who kind of helped me learn a little bit more, man, was Oven, which is Oscar Rivera's dad.
Yep.
And he's original Sangre Nueva back in the 60s, man, 69, 70 when the band first started. And my dad reached out to him and he says, "Hey, I'll teach you. I'll teach you more chords and to get you by, to start teaching you stuff, but you're gonna learn." So he was working nights. I would get off of school, come to our practice, and just him and I. He's writing chords down and just show me the easy version to get by. This is how you're gonna do it, and major push, major shout out to him, man. He's the one who helped me out a lot,
Yep. And
he gave me the push that you can do it. You just gotta study a little bit, and major shout out to him.
So then.
And ever since then, I was there by myself.
Yeah. So how long were you jamming with Sangre Nueva before you started kind of venturing out and doing other things? Because and not to kind of give away some of your story, right? But you did some time in Texas, right?
Mm-hmm.
You moved to Texas, so we'll get to all of that.
Yep.
So was that before the end of Sangre Nueva or after the end of Sangre Nueva? Go ahead, you can explain more about that.
Well, there was never no end to Sangre Nueva. It's just that I think it was at the point in my life where I was probably 24, 25, and I just said, I gotta try it and get it out of my system, and so I left. I was down there for about a year and a half, and I was trying to get in with everybody. I did some gigs with I got an opportunity to play with Stephanie for a quick second, and then I got that gig. Stephanie Lynn. I got that gig through Joe Reveles.
Oh, right on.
Joe Reveles helped me get that gig. And but it was very, very, very short-lived.
Yeah,
but it was a great experience, though.
Yeah, and Joe Reveles actually did some arrangement and keyboard work for the Sangre Nueva album,
Yeah.
right, when they were
Yeah.
being produced.
Yeah, Joe Reveles and Beto Ramon.
Yeah.
So I got to work with them guys, and he showed me a lot of stuff too. And Gilbert, obviously. But yeah, man, just he's the one that kind of helped me get down there and get in there. And I tried to make a way. I auditioned for a lot of bands, and it just didn't work out. It didn't pan out. And I thank God I was down there with family, so it kind of worked out. But I got to at least play, and get the experience and get it out of my system. And then I just, came home, got it out of my system, came back to reality.
Awesome. And so you come back, right?
Yeah.
And you start jamming again with Sangre Nueva, or what did you?
I did with my dad again. Yeah, right away, of course.
Right away. Yep.
That's a life contract, man. You can't get out of it. It's signed in blood.
Absolutely. And so then, what were the groups that you jammed with after your time with Sangre Nueva?
Jeez, oh Pete's. I remember for a split second was Sensacion for a quick second. Another great band, George and Hector and them guys, man.
Yeah, great band.
Split second. It wasn't too long though. It was kind of short lived. And then well, back with Albert, he had Latin Soul.
Oh yeah, I remember Latin Soul.
Latin Soul. We had some pretty good musicals in that band. And let me see, who else did we play with?
Who was all in that group? Because I remember with that version of Latin Soul, there was Albert, of course.
Albert.
Was Aaron?
Aaron on drums.
Aaron Holler. Shout out to Aaron Holler.
Yeah.
He's from these areas. Most of you know that. But
Yeah.
if not.
Aaron Holler, Leo Solis on guitar. Julian Castillo on bass. Champ Garcia. Mark Najar on sax. So we had a good band, man. Had a really good band. I mean, really great musicians, and was there for a minute with them guys. And who else? So after Latin Soul, well, can't forget Maximo.
Oh yeah, we'll get to Maximo in a second. But before we do that, I'm gonna try and get a little bit closer to the mic here because apparently they're saying something about the static, the noises, rough on the ears. Apparently, thank you, Roy, Maya, for pointing that out. And also a random blind guy. It says the audio fellows ? For those of you who are tuning in and didn't catch the very beginning of it, we are on remote location here in Oregon, Ohio, because the internet is out at my home studio. So
Here we are.
it is what it is. At least we're doing it right. In true professional fashion, the show goes on. So yeah. So. When did the whole Maximo thing start? And let me say this though, being a musician who I came to the scene, at least in this area, around the time that Maximo was like in full swing, and to this day, when I still go to like the Chicago area and like somewhat like different parts of Indiana, people are always like, man, Maximo, you remember Maximo? I'm like, yeah, I remember Maximo, but like to this day, like people are still like really, really like they have a spot in their heart for that band. So tell us a little bit about Maximo and how that all came to be.
I don't know why though. Anyway, no, it was a fun band. I think we were more known as just an energetic band. We were more of a, I don't want to say show band, but just there was a high energy, and we had a bunch of young guys in the band, some seasoned, some not. I put the band together because I wanted to do something different. It was my first official band putting together, and that was Mike Ramos.
Yeah, Mike Ramos
on vocals.
Shout out to my primo through marriage, Mike Ramos, who is actually brothers with Bam Bam, who I had on the show a few weeks back. So yeah.
So yeah, we had Mike, Rick Munguia, who was our bass player in the original, Joe Ortiz,
who's in the house.
Yeah. Yep. Our first drummer, Matt Maya, right out the gates on drums.
Yep. And there's a shout out here to Matt Maya too.
What
says, up? Nano Fuentes says Maximo was a good band. Matt on drums.
Yeah.
I don't know what. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, and then Matt was on drums, and then we had myself, Eric Ramos on accordion, brand new, learning how to play the box. I don't should say learning, but he was.
Yep.
He was doing his thing for a young age, and then
Eric, a musician right here from
another family
Toledo,
member.
Ohio. Yeah, family member. He's like, I guess technically like my brother-in-law.
Yeah.
We'll just leave it at that. He's my brother-in-law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody loves Eric.
Yeah, and so and Eric played with Maximo. He played with Familia Band. He's currently playing with Los Temibles. So shout out to Eric.
Yep.
Good accordion player. Definitely. Unknown musician here in the area. So, anyways, that was Maximo.
That was Maximo, man. We just played a bunch of cover tunes and just played them as best as we can. And I think we were kind of we made it work, even though it was probably a lot of half-assed stuff, but it worked and people got into it, and it was. We got gigs. We stayed busy. We were consistent for about 2-3 years, maybe longer, but I think it was about 3 years before that band kind of fizzled out and we went our separate ways.
Okay, so apparently now I am distorting, so maybe I'm too loud. So let's try to kind of even this out. All right, there we go.
Stand by for
yeah,
technical difficulties.
yeah. So shout out also going out to your tocayo Miguel. Well, you're not Miguel, you're Michael, but still Mike and Mike. Miguel from Stampede,
What
who's
up, Mike?
giving
Or
me
Miguel?
some, yeah, who's giving me some feedback there on the audio. Thank you very much.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks for looking out, good looking right there. So Maximo stopped, and then so was there like a downtime, or were you kind of jamming with somebody else before you decided, hey, I'm gonna give this another shot and start another band?
Yeah, Los Canales.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't forget, but yeah, Los
Yeah.
Carnales for sure.
Yeah,
Saginaw, Michigan.
Saginaw. Yeah.
Gary Lopez and
Yeah.
Big G, Little G, both Gary and Gary
Great.
Jr. and
Those are my boys, man. I mean,
Albert Amador.
we spent a lot of time together, and I was with them, what, 5 years? 6
Something
years?
like- yeah.
6 years?
Holler was part of that group for a little bit too,
for,
right?
for a split second.
Yeah.
And then back and forth, that's when he was kind of still kind of figuring out what he was doing, but that's when he first took off to Texas after that point. But another good band, man. I mean, we were together for a sec. We were good. We had a good chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
Albert was singing on drums. Gary Lopez, Elias was on guitar. Then we had Isaiah Garcia on bajo,
Mm-hmm.
Champ, Little G on
Mhm.
sax. Man, just a good band. dude.
Yeah,
It was a good band.
good band.
Good
a lot of
músicos,
guys, good
yeah.
musicos, but they
We were the
sounded
marching
good.
band at Tejano.
The marching band at Tejano.
We had 2 light guys, 2 sound guys, 2 monitor guys.
No. Stop. I mean, no, but that's cool that you guys had like the David Lee thing going on. You had guitar, bajo,
Yeah.
accordion, sax, everything.
I was
you
proud
know.
of that band, man. That was a really good band. I mean, like I said, the chemistry, the brotherhood that we had with them guys. I mean, those are my friends, man.
Yeah, and they also had some decent hits.
Yeah.
That, they got signed with the record label and.
The first one was with Ritmo Records. We did that, that independent label out of, was it Arizona or something like that, right?
Oh, I don't remember, but that sounds about right.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And Bob Olivo helped us.
Oh yeah, Bob Olivo,
Yeah,
may
Bob
rest in
Olivo.
peace.
Yeah, Bob
Yep.
Olivo helped us with that deal, and we, and they were a Saginaw, house band. Everybody loved them, and then we got to play. We did the national convention.
Oh, that's
We did
right.
the Tejano
Yep.
National Convention.
Yeah, when they were having that in Dallas, right?
Yep. So
The
that was
second year that they had it in Dallas, right?
so that was really cool. So we got to
Yep.
experience that, and we had a lot of fun, man. And we traveled all over the place. We went everywhere, dude. We went everywhere, and then I decided I needed to take a break.
Mhm.
That's when I took a break. I took a break for about a good year, and just kind of just rethought what I wanted to do and just take it easy. And then I got the fire. Literally got the fire back.
That's cool.
And here we are.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so then you decided, like 11 years ago now, or whatever?
2000, Fuego is celebrating their 10-year anniversary this year.
This year.
So 2010 when we came out.
Oh, right on.
So 2009 is when we put the band together.
Yep. And that group has morphed in several ways. One of which you had a male singer at the time.
Yeah, quite a few.
Quite a few. Augie was your first
Augie
singer.
was the first singer.
And,
your guys' first singer.
Yeah,
was
he was
Motivo.
our first singer too with Motivo.
Man,
And
Augie's just the man, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just awesome. I mean, if you don't know who Augie is, then shame on you, because this guy's everybody loves Augie.
Yep.
And he's a phenomenal singer and just a great spirit and a great friend.
Yeah, and a good front guy, man. Like he has a lot of energy. Like
Energy.
he knows how to get the party started.
He gets the crowd
He
going.
gets the crowd going. Yeah, man.
And
So
he's just fun. He's just fun, man.
absolutely.
But beyond talented.
Yep. Absolutely.
And,
a
so we
good
were,
sound engineer too.
Oh,
and-
yeah. yeah, jack of all trades, man. And we were blessed to have him. And we started off, and Fuego's seen quite a few faces. Be honest. Like any other band, though. I mean, they come and go. I mean, I don't say come and go as lightly, but people sometimes just have a different vision and different things change, and just we weathered through that though.
Right. And then, so then you were like, hey, you know what? We need to figure this out. We need to get a permanent singer. And so.
Augie was there like the first year, maybe year and a half. He was there for a little bit, and then after Augie got out, no, I'm lying. It's probably about a good year he was there, and then Augie ended up getting out because he was singing with the Global Village.
Right.
which is his, main cup of tea there. Um, and then we end up getting.
Sorry, for those of you who see me off camera, there's a motion light here, and it went out, so I was trying to get it to happen. I was trying to make it be kind of swift about it, but it wasn't. You could totally see me swatting my arms, and
our light technician is now.
our light technician's inside.
Yeah.
She's on the phone, but sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead, continue with your. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't get any classier than this right here. It's just a backyard Tejano keyboard live interview because
And
some
it is
idiot ripped out the cable. Okay, whatever.
Anyways.
We're moving on.
Vent's over. So after Augie, I think we end up having like Josh. Josh was helped us out on a few gigs. He was helping us out actually quite a bit. He was committed with some other project, Tejano Funk.
Yep.
At the time.
Yeah.
So we were very glad that he was able to help us out. And then fast forward a little bit later on, maybe another 5-6 months going on. We still wanted to keep the band going. We were kind of struggling who we were going to do as far as a front person. My brother was in the band at that time, so he was singing a lot, so he was stepping up quite a bit. But he played accordion, so we wanted that dedicated front person that can actually just be up there. That was the whole main thing. But to have the versatility of having my brother able to sing and do his thing, and then have somebody else, we wanted that more depth in the band.
Mm-hmm.
So then I invited Isaiah Pusiaga to help us out for quite a bit. He got us out of a lot of jams and did a lot of shows with us, and it worked out good.
Mm-hmm.
But he was committed. He was trying to get his thing and his project going and stuff. And Isaiah, man, he's got a big heart. If you ask him, he's gonna be there for you. And he did that for us.
And for those of you who don't know who Isaiah is, check out his music. He goes by Isaiah Izaya on YouTube.
IB Live.
Even before IB Live, he had released some stuff. He had Admirar and stuff like that. But
Good
still,
songs, man.
good musician from the air, great musician, excellent drummer. He's helped me out a few times on drums and
Bass player.
Yeah, great bass player also.
Peace,
so. Good visionary, he had, dabbles in a bunch of different stuff. But yeah, so Isaiah was helping you guys out for a while too. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Isaiah, and then wasn't sure how long that was gonna last, and then I ended up reaching out to Yvonne.
Yeah, Yvonne, who was Yvonne Ramos at the time.
Yeah, reached out to Yvonne. I said, hey, I got some shows I want you to help us out with. And the first one was right here in Toledo, and I had Isaiah and Yvonne splitting the night just to kind of get through the songs, that we needed to try to get done. And here we are.
Yep. And so Yvonne took on more of a full-time position.
Yeah, well, she was still singing with her dad at that time, but the Familia with Ruben and Ramos and the Familia band here in town. So that's been around forever, and everybody knows them, So she was still singing with them, but they weren't playing a lot at that time, and we were trying to get a little bit busier, and she wanted to try it. So she ventured off, and I said, we made it Fuego with Yvonne as the front person, and it worked out.
So then it went from Grupo Fuego to Ivani
Fuego.
Which was, a marketing move, and I think it was a good one. And speaking of Yvonne.
And there she goes.
So we were just talking about how...
The transition?
Yvonne Ramos Ibarra right here. Yvonne, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's a gorgeous day.
It is.
In the Midwest in June.
Yeah, it's really nice out. I'm a warm-blooded person, so I always have to have it cool. And so right now it feels nice out here. It really does.
Beautiful.
Yep. So we were just talking about how Fuego went through its transition of different vocalists and trying to, figure out what direction they wanted to go, and then ultimately asking you to help out. And how did you feel, having to go from a family band to kind of like transitioning into something? Well, you had your own band in another before too, right? You had Calimán.
When I was 19, yep.
Yep. Hey, you know what? And this is all relevant because another keyboardist right here, Yvonne, actually teaches classical piano here out of their home. So she is a classically trained pianist, and also, well, I guess this is a good segue into talk about what you said about their first argument. I'm just gonna leave that on the table and go.
So yes.
Well, she said she was gonna talk about it.
So first of all, how I felt about going from a family band and then to Fuego full time, I felt guilty. I mean, let's be real. It's like, even though I had my own band for, I think maybe 3 years at one point, when you were playing with your dad and your cousins for that long, and then you're leaving for another endeavor, and as exciting as it is, you still have that gut thing telling you that, you're guilt. It's guilt. But luckily, all my family being musicians, it was wonderful, the transition. It still is now. I mean, we still do family all together. But yeah, so when Michael and I had gotten together, a lot of people only know that I am a vocalist. They think that that's all I do. And I'm probably one of the harder musicians to work with in the studio.
No comment for Rolando.
Okay, Mike's back on.
But for so many years, I just really felt kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Not respected as a musician, so to speak, because, oh, you're just a singer. And I had two male musicians in this area tell me, oh, yeah, you're just a singer. And I wanted to scream. But, yeah, Michael, he knew my background in classical music. And I'll tell you, when you grow up and you're classically trained, you really do admire the people who aren't classically trained and can pick up things really, really quickly by ear. And he really respected me as a musician. So our first argument happened in our apartment at the time, and he was practicing. And I don't know, he hit a chord or something, and I was in the kitchen cooking, so I had the toile on my shoulder and everything. And
Okay, next question.
But I go, you hit a wrong note, and he said, no, I didn't, and he named the note. I forget what he named the note, and I said, or the chord, and I said, I don't care.
He named it like this chord is Bob.
A B knuckle 7.
A B knuckle 7.
So I said, I don't care what you name it. I said, you're hitting a wrong note. It's rubbing. And he just disagreed with me, and I felt that, anger coming back again after being told so many times you're just a singer. And so I showed him in the middle of cooking what the chord was supposed to be, and then he told me that I was not allowed to touch his keyboards anymore.
What?
His keyboard was facing me, so I hit the whole chord backwards.
She's flipping tortillas with one hand. It's this chord, cabrón. Okay.
Pretty much. And he was so mad at me. But yeah, that was our first argument as a couple.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: you guys both keyboardists and stuff like that. How does that help you come up with musical ideas, Michael? First of all, or actually, we'll ask Yvonne because you were saying that people see you just as a vocalist. How does your background in keyboard translate over to helping you think of different things? Do you think that way? Do you think like I'm gonna do this with my voice and like you think of scales or anything like that? Do you think that way sometimes?
I do, and I don't realize how related it is to keyboards. You just don't think like that. I mean, I started playing piano when I was 6, and I took lessons all the way up until I was 19 with one teacher, Heidi from Clausius. How you doing, girl? Because I have a feeling she'll probably pop in on this. But with one teacher, she's still like one of my biggest idols in music. But yeah, I think it has a huge part to play, and I don't even realize that it does. But I feel like people ask me, why don't you write music? And I guess maybe I could sit down on the keyboard and want it coming out, but it's really, really hard for me originating from nothing. But I'm pretty sure, like, as we've worked in the studios before, if I have just a base, it's like I get all these great ideas. They start flooding, and then I don't know how to. Working with you is wonderful because you're able to kind of plunk out exactly what I'm thinking on the keyboard.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a real quick break because I think we found where the issue is. We'll be right back. Hold on. Okay, we're back, kind of. Okay, I don't know if that helps or if the
Hello,
crackling-
hello. Testing, testing.
Yeah, or if the crackling has stopped. But anyways, so we were talking about yeah. So you're not necessarily like maybe second nature. The keyboard stuff helps with um the um the musical ideas that come. And you were talking about people asking you why you don't write stuff, and yeah, my excuse for that usually when people say, "Hey, why don't you write stuff?" I say because my pencil's broken and I need a sharpener. But I'm just kidding. Anyway, so Michael, tell us a little bit about your setup and what you're using these days, and talk to us about some of your favorite setups of all time because I know you've gone through a few different setups. No.
So this is 5-hour show.
Now it's a roast. Now it's a roast. Geez, man. I mean, my first. You want the first stuff, or you want?
Whatever, man. Talk.
Jeez, oh, peas. I remember my first keyboard that my dad bought me was an old. It was a Prelude, and it was one of these keyboards that had a piano section, a string section, and a synth section, and it was one of those keyboards that had that old Moss type of sound, that synth sound that the Moss uses, you know. And,
like the mono synth stuff.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was my first board, and from there I went to like a bunch of Roland Juno ones and twos. They had those synth brasses in there or synth sounds in them. Actually, that same Juno one was the one that Martin used to use with Ram when they recorded on Montecito.
Oh, okay.
That same brass sound. So I had a couple of those, and that was my rig until I started learning how to play, and then and started learning how to invest money a little bit later on. But I think when I went from that to straight, I was an Sonic freak man at the time. Everything was in Sonic. To the SQ1s, the KS32s. I had the Mirage sampler in the beginning.
I still had. Well, I sold my Mirage. I had a Mirage and I sold it to my neighbor. He still has it. I don't think he uses it. I had some cool discs for it, but yeah. Anyways, the Mirage was cool, and we were also talking about you were talking about the pop brass, right? The one from the ASR 10, the Jerry de la Rosa brass.
And so after the Mirage, I went to the EPS, and from the EPS, I went to the ASR 10. All that on Sonic boards. But when I got my Sonic ASR 10, that's when I started kind of getting cool with Jerry back in the day. And every time he would come into town with Jay or something, he would say, "Hey," he'd always hook me up with all kinds of sounds, and he gave me, which I still have, I gotta find them, but that copy of that popcorn section, and there was this little other synth sound called the Leprechaun that he used to use, like in Me and Mrs. Jones and all that stuff, those little whistle sounds. But man, then Sonic was my setup back in the day. That was just what I was about, and when I had the 1M1 cord, because you have to have that.
Yeah, that was a classic board back in the day. The M1, like everybody had one. I remember as like a young musician, I always that was my dream board. And then later on, when I was in college, I actually bought myself one, and then I sold it like a dummy, And then, but I sold it. No, I lied. I traded it in at a music store to put it down towards getting an N264, and that keyboard was bad. And like a dummy, I got rid of that one too. I'm such an idiot. But anyways, doesn't matter. We're not here to talk about how stupid I am. We're here to talk about these guys. Yeah.
But yeah, man, and that Sonic thing, and then they had that one chord that the M1. had one module, the 01W, which I still have today, and then a rolling keyboard, rolling U20. The rolling U20 had nice string patches and pianos and some organs and stuff like that. It was really brass. There's some brass section stuff in there.
The rolling brass stuff.
Bad back in the day, yeah. So well, once again, I used to do all that. I had literally 6 keyboards and these modules and
Speaking of, we have something to show you guys from the archives. Michael brought this out because somebody was talking about it last week or the week before. But this is like a MIDI patch bay. It's an Ensoniq 8x8. It has 8 ins, 8 outs, and then you could like hit a bunch of buttons. Here, I'll let you talk about it, and I'm going to put it in front of the camera so people can see it.
Yeah, so this was actually the MIDI controller that actually you could merge your motherboard, a motherboard 1 and a 2, and you could merge all your keyboards together, and that's how I kind of actually Brando had the same setup. Yeah. Brando had the same exact setup, and that's kind of where I got that from. Seeing that he had that same one, I said I want to buy that, and I found it, and it's just a way of back and then to layer the sounds. You know, you want strings and pianos and all this other stuff on top of it. That's how I did it. Even though I had 6 keyboards, I never played them all at the same time, but you know, just it would made it easier for all the transitions, and that was the whole secret behind it. I think it was, you know, it worked for me.
So for those of you who maybe aren't hip to that technology, like nowadays, like everything's done like within the menus, and back then you could still do that sort of stuff, but it was a lot harder because the screen was real little. The you know, sometimes certain words had to be abbreviated to fit, you know, so many characters, and sometimes you wouldn't really know, or you know, but this was a kind of an over easy way to just kind of like plug certain keyboards together, and you could say, hey, you know, this button is my piano, this button is my strings, this button is my brass, and then if you want to combine any of those, then you would just hit buttons and then just get all those to come together. So talk to me, and both of you guys can answer this. Talk to me about the Fuego sound, because like you guys kind of like grab a little from here, grab a little from there. But I mean, I know because I've worked with you guys, but like for people who, you know, are.
Well, let me back up.
Because I mean, it's keyboard based. So
Yeah.
You can talk about, like,
Yeah.
and you can talk more about like.
Well, when we first started Fuego, before Yvonne came in the picture, when I first started getting the guys together, the very first person I asked was the longest band member that's been with me since day one, is Jojo Jimenez, and he's Jojo, Yo-Yo, from then to Sag Nasty, but Jojo, man, our brother, man, and I went to Saginaw to go hear him play because at the time he was playing with Louis Garcia's band.
Oh, right on. Yeah, what was that? Cuvo? They had Cuvo was the name of the band. And shout out to Louis Garcia also from Midwest Tejano Radio.com. I don't know if he's logged on or not, but shout out to him. Another great musico, good sax player, good musician, good keyboard player. Yeah, singer.
Everything. So I went down there to go talk to him, not to steal him away from you, Louis, sorry, but I kind of did. And to say, I'm starting a band, this is what I'm doing, and I said, well, he said, well, who do you got in the band? I said, well, right now, me and you. He goes, okay, let's try it out. And anyway, so Jojo's, you know, everybody knows, if anybody knows Jojo comes from he's Tejano in his heart, but he's a banger, man. He's a hard metal, rock and roll.
So yes, Jojo is one of the, like, best hard rock drummers I've heard in the area. He's really, really good. Can do all this double bass stuff, can do all these really crazy like fills on the drums, but also can break dance. What's up with that? But anyways, real quick, so let's see here. Okay, I want real quick, and then we'll get back to talking about Fuego here and more keyboard stuff. Miguel Ortega Jr. says, yes, the pop horn section. Yeah, he's talking about the ASR 10. Let's see, Miguel Ortega also says, I love Ensoniq. The EPS Plus was my favorite. Yep. Let's see here. John Cruz says, who are your personal female... Wait. Who are your personal female singer, Tejano? I think he meant your personal favorite.
female singers, Tejano or any other genres. My favorite Tejano female singer was Laura Canales, so we can answer that question here in a little bit. John Ortiz also said that he had the Ensoniq TS10.
Oh yeah.
That was a good keyboard.
And I sold that keyboard to Hector Martinez. um, what were we talking about? I forgot. Yeah. So, anyways, we got JoJo involved, and fast forward, we got here we are, and to where the core of the guys that are with us now, and most of them have been there quite a bit, and I think Yvonne was this is where she kind of explains it a little bit better than anybody else, though.
Well, I think the whole reason why Fuego works and we've had the longevity that we've had with the same core band members is because um, while we're all not the fanciest of musicians, we all complement each other. And people that know me know that I love my R&B background, but I also, I mean, if you guys heard my playlist, it would make no sense to many people, but I love musics of all kinds. And then JoJo has his metal background, and then the accordionist that we use, he actually has like loves the jazz and the R&B, so the two mix together. And then you got Lito on the guitar, who has that really bluesy influence and background. And Benny, he just drives that rhythm on the bass. And the thing is we have so much going on, but I feel like we all know how to complement and kind of mesh with each other. And somehow we get ideas from every walk of music, I think, in each one of our cumbias and even rancheras we've rocked out. What's this one we did on what?
A lot of them.
a lot of heavy metal guitar.
Yeah.
But between using a live percussion with JoJo and Rolando rolling on drums, it's just a good combination. It works. Like I said, I mean, we're not the best, but together we just the chemistry's there and it just works. Um, and we stay busy. We've been blessed. That's the way I look at it. I mean, I can't even explain it. It's
Oh,
just
and Rolando, I forgot.
I just said
Rolly.
Rolando.
Oh, yeah.
Really.
I did not forget you, Rolando. Rolly.
Also, Rolly on drums. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Not me, Rolando. The other. Yeah, there's a Rolly Rodriguez. Yep, my tocayo, holding it down on the drums there. Some of you might have known, some of you might not have known, but I've done some work in the past for these guys. They did some great work in the studio. Has led them to actually get a nomination and a win at the Tejano Music Awards, the TTMA Tejano Music Awards in San Antonio. So kudos to them for doing that. It's not very often that you see that a Midwest band, can actually be on the same stage with bands from Texas and actually receive accolades of such, high honor. I am myself. I have to say that I am honored to have been at least touched the work that got them nominated, but that was all of them. So my hats off to them for their hard work and what they've done. Let's transition over here. So they wanted to know about your favorite female singers, Tejano or otherwise.
I'm gonna answer first.
Let me answer real quick. Have you guys ever seen Roseanne Barr sing the national anthem? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
How did you guess that? Well, if I want to eat dinner, I have to say Yvonne first, right? Just kidding. Dude, there's so many amazing Tejano female singers, man. I mean, Elida, is one of my favorites. Laura Canales, obviously. Some of Elsa Garcia. There's just so many of them. What's the one? Leti Guevara is one of your ones that you like from, artists. Di Marie, another great singer,
Yeah, I've been jamming to her song.
Yeah,
lately a lot.
geez, OP, she's got some great vocal range, and there's just so many out there, man. But if I had to say female vocalist from my end, from an overall, geez, man, I would probably think maybe Whitney and Mariah would probably be my two up there. Anyways,
As far as I think influences in the Tejano end of it, honestly, I know Michael said earlier that he didn't have a choice in the matter getting involved in the music, as nor did I. I did not choose. My dad chose for me. But after seeing Selena, okay, I know that's the catapult right there for I think anybody going into the Tejano market. You just have to reflect back to her because she was doing something so different, even way back then, and even now. Is it crazy that it is still different? I mean, you know what I mean? It's been around for how many years now, but it's still so different. So obviously her Elsa was one of my favorites. I don't even know how many times I saw her in the Toledo area or surrounding areas. I think maybe 5 or 6 times. I just loved the way she was on stage. Her voice is very recognizable, very, very smooth. She had this style of like when you heard her little turns and she did them in such the Elsa way. It was one of those things that I really, really liked about her. Um, the bigger influences, oh gosh, there's so many. I love Ellie again, very distinguishable voice, but even in her pronunciation, and that's what I'm getting to like appreciate, I guess, more like what makes their voice them. And I'm hoping that maybe I have a quality or two or growing those qualities so that one day people are like, that's Yvonne. I don't know, you know.
No, it's the
Um,
laugh.
yeah, well, that too. But and then outside, I'm probably gonna pick people that people are like, oh my gosh, she's horrible. But to me, like I am a huge Billie Eilish fan right now.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And people will say, oh my gosh, her music is depressing, but I'm not listening. Like, yes, it's the music, but if you listen to how creative she is, and number two, how pure her voice is. I mean, there's nothing hiding. She's right up on that mic, and oh my gosh, I just think it's beautiful what she does. But I mean, my list changes weekly.
And if I could chime in, for as far as female singers, um, I do have to say that one of my personal favorites is Stephanie Montiel. I think that she has like this whole like pop sort of vocal sound to her that really she applies it to Tejano very well. You know what I mean? Like she can have like that, yeah, that Mariah Carey sort of belt, but also can bring it back to like almost that Billie Eilish sort of like real soft sort of like intimate. There you go. Which is a good transition and plug for next week. Gabriel Zavala will be on the show. So Gabriel Zavala is the husband to Stephanie Montiel. Of course, you guys know that. We got a shout out right here from Aaron Vasquez. Aaron says, "Nice shirt, Michael." So Aaron, accordionist, is actually playing with me right now. So, I mean, let me rephrase that. He's jamming in my band. Um, yeah. Okay. Anyway, uh, we're live, people. I'm sorry. Sometimes. Okay. So,
This is why we never get any work done. No.
yeah. Well, I try to keep people on track, but that's another conversation for another time.
That's a whole different segment, man. A whole different segment.
And so, oh, my bad. Oh, thank you. So, Michael, what about your current setup right now? What are you using right now?
Um, Still, well, finally getting out of the 20,000 keyboard mode and then going from two LEs and an M3 and my Triton and down getting rid of all that and downsizing thanks to you helping me out. Able to use my Triton and a MIDI controller and then a um, my O1 for my dyno piano sound, and that's basic the rack module. That's it, man. I mean, I have a Trinity now that I have, but it's literally a backup board because my Triton is starting to die and I need a new keyboard. But we're working on that.
But Yvonne got a new keyboard, right?
Yvonne got a new keyboard.
Piano.
Yeah.
So you got
Yes.
a new baby grand sort of piano, and for her students, though, for her students.
Yes.
Students.
Hey,
I'm gonna cut the legs out and take it on the road like Brando did.
this thing, you know what though? Hey, in all fairness, we went to go see this piano, and I think he's played it more, and he fell in love with it, and he's like, oh my gosh, we're getting this. So yes, this
It's
is,
so pretty though. It's so pretty.
and it sounds beautiful. It's a
Baldwin.
Baldwin, yeah.
Baldwin.
So
I mean, it's just it speaks for itself. Rolando touched it for a second earlier, and it's
Yep. Very nice. Very nice keyboard.
yes. So who knows? We might pull Alicia. Yeva.
Oh, jeez. But yeah, man, just the Trinity or the Triton, and then my MIDI controller. But I am hoping to get a. I have my eyes on a Chrome that I want to get. I think it's a user. I'm not a tech savvy guy. You obviously you know that. You're the one that helped me be able to set it up, to get my MIDI channel set up, to get it set up, layer my sounds, and use the internal setup to kind of make it easier, and split up stuff.
Mikey says also it's heavy. So
Oh, the
take
piano.
the piano. It's
Thanks, Mikey.
it's heavy. So that might be.
Mikey's now a professional piano mover too.
He's a professional piano mover. Mikey, did you help me move our piano into our house? I don't think it was Mikey. Who helped me? I know for sure Jesse helped me. My buddy Jesse Herrera helped me move the piano. But anyways, we're not talking about my piano. We're talking about
Let's talk
yeah.
about the piano that Mikey burned at mine. No, I'm just playing. I'm just kidding. It wasn't Mikey. But he did drop one of my LEs and broke it. And he still does to this day. Doesn't admit to it. It still has a broken key.
Sneak out.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to sneak out because I have a daughter in Colorado and she needs me to help her make rice via internet. Isn't internet wonderful? So you boys have fun.
But yeah, man, that's kind of where I'm at right now and what I'm doing. And hopefully I get my eyes on the Chrome and.
I want to give a quick shout out also to Yvonne for being our light person. She went up there in the motion detector, turned back on, so we're not in the dark as much anymore. But anyways, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Anyways, that's it. Yeah.
No, so you've had some LEs in the past and stuff like that, and the Chrome. And you know what? Miguel is one of the cats that uses a Chrome, and so yeah, I mean.
He's a freaking beast. He's a beast on that. And I seen him the way he splits it and layers it and everything. I want to do the same thing, but I want to go 73 and just my MIDI controller and call it, because I don't want to even carry the module anymore. I'm tired of carrying all that stuff. And you work smarter, not harder, right? That's the whole idea of it. And I'm trying to transition myself all of these years later of not carrying 6 keyboards to just using, in theory, one with the controller, just to have that separation.
So let me ask you this: now that we're talking about like technology and all this good stuff in relation to how it applies to Tejano music, like what do you see as like the future path for Tejano music right now? Like, I mean, and also like right now, everybody knows coronavirus is still alive and well. Many of us are not gigging right now. Many of us don't want to gig right now. But you know, the business is the business, and you know, the capitalist system, the wheels don't stop turning on that. So sometimes there's money that has to be made or contracts that have to be, whatever. But so do you know when you guys will be back on the road? And if not, any idea of what you guys think your first time back will be like? And also, like I said, moving forward from here on out, what do you see? I'm not speaking that there is anything wrong with the Tejano music industry, but anything to help it thrive more. So here I'm going to hand it over to Michael.
Back to our schedule, man. We haven't played since New Year's. I mean, this is, and the guys have, and Yvonne and myself, we made the decision together. We're gonna sit and lay low, and we haven't even been together in practice or anything. I barely seen Benny. I seen Rolly a couple of times, Lito a couple of times. We yet to see JoJo, and so it's just been on. We haven't connected, but we are getting the itch. We have been canceling or been canceled some of our shows, some of our quinceañeras and private gigs like everybody else. We play a lot in South Bend and Chicago area, so that all those gigs have been postponed or at least canceled for the time being. I don't know. I mean, we have stuff pending for July and August. We'll see what happens. I mean, I haven't had any further updates from that. We were scheduled for the Milwaukee Fest this year. Obviously, that was canceled. We were kind of looking forward for that, and just month by month, man, and hopefully. We'll get back at it and start practicing and getting the feel and the vibe back. But that's kind of where we're at today. Just hopefully that we all can get out there. But I want to do it safely though, and making sure that we're following the rules and the guidelines of everything and making sure that everybody's safe. That's the most important right now.
And so, as far as like the state of the Tejano music industry, what and not just here locally, but abroad too. I mean, sometimes it's good to have a fresh perspective of what's happening outside of Texas. Because I use this analogy. Okay, is that I grew up on a small lake town. Um, on Lake Michigan, and I was born and raised there, uh, and I never cared to go to the lake. It wasn't until after I left my hometown that the lake seemed like fun, or that I missed the lake. You know what I mean? When you have it there, it's kind of like and so to an extent, no disrespect to people who live in Texas, but I think sometimes that with the ubiquity of having Tejano music around, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, well, it's just Jay Perez. I'll catch him next time. It's just Joe Lopez. I'll catch. What do you mean just? You know what I mean? These are some of like the biggest names in the Tejano music industry. When they come up here, like it is a special event. People make it a point to be there, right? So all that being said, I think that sometimes being reflexive from an outside perspective, or well, I guess reflexive would be looking in, so not that. That's not what I'm saying. But looking at the industry from an outside perspective, I think is healthy. So, in your opinion, Michael, what are some of the things that as a Tejano music, you know, industry we can improve, or some things that are good, some things that you don't. What do you think are the changes that we need?
Well, you know what? I mean, for starters, I mean, and then I think we need to get our kids and our youth involved again. I mean, like when I was growing up, when I was 12, 13 years old, loving the music, and like you and your dad, getting our kids back involved, and driving that, because I think that connection from our youth to where we're at right now is gone. I mean, I don't want to say it's gone, but it's very scattered. It's very limited to those younger folks who are not really diving in like the way we did. But as far as the direction of the Tejano industry, I mean, I think I don't want to say it's dying, because it's not dying. I think it's just at a standstill, like we're stuck in time right now, and everybody's still hyped on the 90s and the early 2000s, when the Jays and David Lees and the Mosque with Joe and Jimmy and Emilio and all that was out at its peak point, and they're stuck in that. And no disrespect, but those guys are the godfathers who kind of planted the seed for us.
And not only that, but even those artists that we're mentioning right now, they have new music, but it seems like radio stations, to a certain extent, are stuck on the old stuff. You know what I mean? And even so, if the headliners, so to speak, the A-list bands don't have a shot of getting airplay for new material, how are new bands going to get any, or how are out of state bands, bands like Fuego that are are making new music, and no, and I shouldn't say nobody, but like the masses are not listening to it, because they I don't know what the right avenue is that needs to to channel the music from the performer to the listener, right? Because this is what I've always thought, right? When you would see the Tejano Music Awards of the early 90s, and there was 20,000 people, 15,000 people, or whatever, those gigantic, those people didn't magically disappear. I mean, granted, I mean, people do pass away, but even with that, it's like, where did all those people go? And I don't think it necessarily that it's the fact that they're just not interested in it anymore. I think they just don't have the outlet, for people. But also, to piggyback off of what you said, as far as like the youth playing music and stuff like that, I just saw on Facebook, Johnny Vasquez's grandkids, and so Johnny Vasquez is accordionist and band leader of Tejano Sound Band, one of the premier bands here in the Midwest. One of the most well-known Tejano groups, so on and so forth. But his son is a ridiculously good accordionist, but he just Yeah, Jay. Shout out to Jay Vasquez, but he just didn't take an interest to it. But what I find fascinating is that his grandkids are starting to jam. Josiah is an excellent drummer, and he's only 7, right? 6 or 7, something like that. Also, yeah, and recently, his older grandson, 3J, which is Johnny the third, right, or Juan Jesus Vasquez the third, 3J, and he was playing accordion and he was killing it, man. Like I mean, these kids are really good if they stick to it. I mean, I think that's going to be the future of. Yeah, that's the next generation. I'm gonna hand it back over to you so we can talk about this a little bit more. But Chris Rodriguez says, "Hello, fellas. Michael needs to talk louder into the mic or hold the mic closer to his mouth." But I still want his autograph though. He says. So yeah, you saw Johnny's kids play, right?
Oh, dude, I mean, the grandkids, and yeah, man, that's what I'm talking about. That we need that extra, that youth drive. We need that youth to kind of get back into it and feel like we did. But as far as the onda where it's at today, you would think right now with the internet radio and the FM stations that are still out there across the country, or even in Texas, they would be more open and acceptive to some of the new bands to kind of keep things going. I know that and I think the other thing too is this almost like a East Coast West Coast rap thing, but it's almost like the Norteño drive and then the Tejano drive, and how we're they separate the two, and we're still all one. That's the way I look at it. I don't care if you're playing Norteño or you're playing Tropical, or it's still all the same. And I think that
We
that
all still eat tortillas and beans. We eat tortillas and beans. So.
yeah, I mean, and I don't like the division of it. I mean, we're all still one, and I think we would all still have that same passion. It's just to keep whatever it is, the music that we're playing, keep it going and keep the onda going, and regardless of what it is, there's an audience for everybody. We know that. But throughout the years, I mean, I think the way Tejano music is right now, everything evolves. Everything evolves. And I think they need to be more acceptive of that music to continue to evolve, but to be able to come out with music that people are going to enjoy and want to dance to and want to have that cohesive sound. When you put song one on that CD, you're going to hear, wow, that whole CD was awesome, and really put some good product out, not just these one hit, two hit songs, and the rest is just filling stuff, and really have a passion. It's a combination of everything. I mean, that's the way I look at it.
And I do kind of agree, like that. I'm the type of person that likes to listen to an album, right? So like I like to listen to it from beginning to end and appreciate for the work for what it is, right? But that's not really the way that the industry's going these days. It's like everybody's releasing one song at a time. But you know what? I'm not saying that one way is better than the other or whatever. But what I gotta say is that like let's take Intocable for example. Intocable, it's like when they release an album, all the songs on there become singles, and they wait a longer time to put an album out. So they'll do, like, instead of the old school mentality of we have to put out an album every year, they put out an album every 3-4 years, but they make each song a single. And then so it's not like back in the days, like you would buy an album and you'd like 2 or 3 songs on it. It's like we're trying to get the entire album to be badass from beginning to end. And so like there's a lot of ways to do it. It's like, kind of like right now I feel like the industry's kind of like they don't know which direction we want to go. Everybody's kind of going their own ways. But I think eventually what's going to happen is that it's going to work out for everybody. You know what I mean? Like everybody's going to do things their own way, and it's going to work for them. You know what I mean? Based on because the one thing about the internet is that like you have a direct connection to the audience, and your audience will tell you what works and what doesn't, right? So if the releasing an album that's cohesive from beginning to end every year is the thing, then that's what you have to do, right? If that's not your thing and it's more of the let's release singles and stuff like that, then that's going to be your thing too, because your audience will either appreciate that or not. So Michael, is there any other things that you want to discuss in regards to Fuego, of people that want to like get in contact with the group, or where they can find more information to hear it? Like some people may have not even heard of Yvonne Fuego before, you know what I mean? But anything you want to talk about as far as information?
Yeah, so obviously on Facebook, yeah, Ivani Fuego on Facebook. Actually, we do have our website that's still up and running from IvaniFuego.com, which is our webmaster, Augie Moreno out of San Antonio, Texas, that's still taking care of that for us. And big shout out to Augie, obviously, too. He's been a major part in our organization since we kind of got things going to the next level, and he's helped us out in so many ways. Now, kind of an executive producer, but you'll hear about that later on. Um, but yeah, IvaniFuego.com. You can check us out there. You'll see most of our activity is on the Facebook. We are on all your social media, iTunes, Amazon. You can still catch all our music and singles on there. And we're hoping to get back in the studio and start recording some new music and do something here soon. So things are in the works, but we're just taking it day by day right now.
Right here we have first shout out going out to Miss Carmen Miller, who's in the house. It says, "Hey fellas, very talented vocalist here in Toledo, Ohio, doing a lot of R&B and jazz and soul." Yep. I had a chance to see her perform a few times with her group, and also Rudy Venezuela wants to. Well, he was making a comment about production quality, that it needs to be better with the newer bands. What can you say to that?
As far as well, recording wise, obviously, right? I think it's just well, yeah. I mean, from a recording standpoint, yeah, production. You have to care about what you're doing and what you're putting out. Being with a good producer that's gonna guide you. Thank you. But somebody who's gonna guide you, and obviously somebody who's putting their name on it. They you want to make sure that you have that sound. You want to make sure that it's there. The vocals, the punctuation, I think, is another big. And I'm not even a singer, or even understand a lot of what's going on and what's being said and a lot of the storylines. But just make sure that that story's delivered. Make sure that the performance is there from the vocals to every instrument. Everything's highlighted accordingly. The passion has to be there, and the production and even then, in recording something that you know that you can deliver live as well. I think it's the bigger piece. If you're going to record it, make sure you can try to perform that live. I think that's a big piece as well. And a lot of that is no matter how you're doing it, just do your best at it.
And I think one thing that I just want to add to that is that, and this is just my opinion, but I feel that the machismo of the Mexican culture sometimes makes it where people are too prideful to ask for help. And just because you do something and you did it to the best of your ability doesn't necessarily mean that it's good. You know what I mean? And I don't mean that as an insult to anybody, but what more as a form of inspiring people to be like, hey, I in my heart know that I've given this my best shot and it's still lacking something. It's okay to ask people for help, because ultimately if you put something out that is not of the best quality, then that's what people are going to remember you by. You know what I mean? And so that goes not just with recording, but musicianship too. If you're playing in a band, practice. And I don't mean necessarily practice as a band. I mean that's rehearsal. Everybody should have individual practice. And for those of you who are keyboardists, my students who are watching, thank you for continuing to contribute to the channel, and for being okay with reaching out to other people, asking for help, wanting to know about chords and stuff like that, or whatever. These are important things and that's what this whole channel is about knowledge. And like, so for example, one time I heard Michael do something. I can still remember what it is. I heard him do something in a song, and I was like, what is that? And what he was playing was like a B flat, and then he was just going down chromatically in triads while he was hitting a different bass note. I think it was like a C over a B flat, B flat. Yeah, there you go. But nonetheless, I heard it and it was cool, and there was no pride, there was no nothing. I was just like, hey man, that was cool. What'd you do? And that's how you learn. You know what I mean? And on the opposite side of that, people who have knowledge, try not to hoard it. You know what I mean? It's always good to share what you have, because when one of us wins, all of us win. I feel that if people who are like, well, you can't share your secrets with people because then they're gonna take work. There's plenty of people who love our beloved music. There's plenty of people doing different things that, there's only 12 notes in modern Western music, right? And in all honesty, those are the same notes that you play in jazz, rock, Tejano, norteño, everything, right? And listen to the vast amounts of music that gets made. You know what I mean? So if somebody's asking you about a 4-note chord, I'm sorry, guys. Get off your high horse and just let the people know what chord you're playing. But anyways, enough of that. I want to thank Michael for allowing me to do this in his backyard at a social distance. The bar separating us here. Michael, thank you.
Thanks, brother, for having it. It was a lot of fun. We always have fun though, but I mean, um, glad to be. I wish we would have talked a bit more about other stuff, but just talking about. y- Well, I got all night. I mean, I don't care. We've got more beer, but no. But it's just it was cool to be on this. I watched every episode. I've been watching it, and I think you got a great thing going on, and I'm glad to be a part of it. Next week's gonna be cool with Gabe Zavala and some more Midwest talent as well, man. It's just it's awesome, and what you're doing for the Onda is just it's amazing, man. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. Like he was saying, next week we'll have Gabe Zavala, and then if I can pull it up here quickly, so I can. Let's see here. So the schedule coming up. If I can get internet service out here, we have Gabe and then Gabriel Zavala, and then the following week we'll be having Hector Gutierrez, who was one of the producers and arrangers for a lot of great Tejano bands of the past. Gary Hobbs, David Ligarce Los Musicales. Well, I do want to make a correction. He brought to my attention that on the flyer it says studio musician. He's not a studio musician. He is a producer. So my apologies for that. We'll try to get that corrected on the graphic. I've been trying to correct that in the posts. Also, we will be having Michael Rodriguez, not my student Michael Rodriguez, who's sorry if I put you on blast, Michael, but when I saw Michael Rodriguez, like, hey, you should interview me, and I was like, oh, sure, cool, man, but it was a different Michael Rodriguez. So Michael Rodriguez from a Bump Latino, who has played with various other bands, including Eddie Gonzalez and a whole slew of different groups. So that'll be a good one too. You won't want to miss that. Steve Rat Silvas, who will be on the show in a few weeks too, formerly from Little Joe and various others. Right now he's got his own project, and we'll be talking with him. We were able to get connected to Joe Reveles, and hopefully we can solidify that it'll be on the 21st of July. Let's see here. And then on the 28th of July, which is the one that I'm pretty excited for, is that we're going to do a live interview with some musicians that work closely with Jerry De La Rosa. So we'll be doing a tribute live interview episode to the great Jerry De La Rosa, from the Gary Hobbs Band, Fandango USA, and of course Jay Perez Band. Right now, it's looking like we're probably going to do the live interview with. Well, I don't know. Maybe I'll keep it a secret. But, yeah, I'll keep it a secret. I've reached out to a couple of the cats that have jammed with him for a while, and then going on into August, we'll get there. But for sure, if we're able to, we were talking to John Ortiz. So John Ortiz Jr. will hopefully be doing an interview with us. But that's about it, guys. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to Yvonne for being our light tech, and for sharing some stories. Man, I wish we would have shared some stories, like some Hoopston, Illinois stories. Yeah, that's for another time. But at any rate, thank you guys for joining, and thank you for understanding with all the mishaps with technology. But hey, we're professionals. The show goes on. Blah blah blah. You guys know how that all goes. So yep. Hasta la próxima. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you.